Hello rat bags, it's Jade. Welcome to the ARK Genesis 2 recap. If you don't know, WILDCARD have been streaming for 24 hours in aid of charity and Extra Life. They've raised over $150,000. They smashed their target in record time as well. Absolute huge number of money. So big shout out to them as always. They really do a good job of this. Of course, they revealed a bunch of stuff. At the very start, we saw the teaser trailer for Genesis 2. It looks pretty bombastic. I showed you guys the re-upload on my channel and I'll go over some bits and thoughts about this. But we're also going to cover all the other stuff, all the reveals on the hour, and give you my opinion on what works and what I'm a little bit worried about with the next DLC that won't be coming out until March 2021. Of course, the biggest news for some people is that Doctor Who, David Tennant himself, is the voice of Rockwell as well. We're going to cover all that and my opinion. Let's go, ARK Gen 2 recap. It's definitely one of the more interesting ones for me. Kicking off with is the egg incubator. Also, you will find timestamps if you want to skip ahead. This will allow you to see the stats and the colours of every egg that you put inside. No more having to breed thousands of dinosaurs. It looks like WILDCARD are desperately trying to solve the problems with memory, which has caused a hell of a lot of problems over the years with mass breeders. You think about all the hundreds of creatures and dinosaurs that are bred on a daily basis on official servers or servers, and it causes a hell of a lot of problems. This is why this will go some way to making performance hopefully better. If players can see the colour, if they can see the stats, they can see what type of dinosaur they're going to get. They won't need to keep the redundant ones. They can pretty much get rid of them, eat them, use them in recipes, do whatever you want, and it's going to not tax the servers or the game as much. A mechanical smart solution for a long-term issue. I'm only really disappointed that it's actually going to be a pay-to-win scenario. We don't know if it might end up being like the cryo chambers, the cryopods, where they make it free, but I really think this should be free for everyone and not just a DLC item. Otherwise, it will still cause a lot of issues for people if they haven't got necessarily access to it. I didn't catch whether or not it's going to rely on fuel or just tech or element. I'm guessing it's going to be a fuel item. It doesn't look that space agey. I reckon it'll be along the same sort of lines as a fabricator. Next up, everyone's ultimate request, the tech crop plot. Yeah, right. Apparently it's just going to give you far better yield. You have a lot more space in there to grow crops. If you let it grow all the way, it's just going to give you maximum amount. There's going to be loads in it. You won't necessarily need to be near sunlight conditions or build huge greenhouses. So again, it kind of takes away a lot of necessity from some of the stuff in there. No more building or coming up with good ways to get that saturation. I don't know, I kind of hope there's some reason that we can still use greenhouses. I don't want it to make it completely obsolete, but it could be pretty interesting. Again, it seems like a smart way to also help get rid of certain base pieces, particularly on PvE, where people may have been going around building huge greenhouses. Probably not. I mean, it's not like something you would build 2 million of them, but there you go. A tech crop plot, not the sexiest thing going, but it might help a lot of people if they're big farmers. Next up, we've got the remote camera security system, otherwise known as RCSS. This seems pretty cool as well. It looks like, again, a similar situation to Subnautica, where you can send out drones to go and look out for resources. Well, in this instance, these cameras will do much more than that. You'll be able to talk to other players. Players will be able to talk to you while you're a camera drone zipping around the rest of the map, and you will be able to place it all around your base. Keep eye on raiders coming towards you. You'll also be able to whistle to creatures and dinosaurs to make it more strategic. So if someone's attacking from a certain direction, you happen to have a bunch of creatures nearby, you will be able to whistle them with this camera and make them go and actually attack any enemies in sight. I really like this feature. I hope if it pans out the way it is, it could really add a bit of strategy to ARK, which is sometimes kind of missing in huge scale warfare. This is going to be the hub of your bases from now on. You want to keep this safe so that you can keep an eye on everything that's going on. At first glance, I wasn't too impressed with the loadout mannequin. I mean, it's just an armor set just to put your armor on, but it does sound actually quite neat that you can have your different color sets. So every time you've got your Iron Man suit that you managed to color up, well, if you've got something different, you can go ahead and put your Power Ranger suit in there as well, and you'll be able to switch up on the fly a complete suit. Obviously, for PvE, it means you can go from being farming mode to being combat mode really super quickly, but more for PvP, it does mean that you can switch up between your tech, maybe close assault, whatever it is, whatever situation, you'll be able to have the loadout that you need. It does look a bit kind of primitive here. I guess that's the idea. Maybe it's not meant to be too technological. It looks like it's quite made out of wood, obviously in just this artistic impression so far. I hope that the displays will be actually on top. I hope that means you can have up to 12 different suits, because it looks like there's little squares or little grids, and it'll be really cool if that shows off each one of your suits, each one of your armor loadouts. That would be really something really special if they can have that showing on the actual mannequins. I don't think it only holds one. I do believe it holds as many as 12 at least, or something along them lines, and you'll be able to choose whatever you want very quickly, simply just by tapping onto the mannequin itself. I can see the salty tears from PvPers right now with ammo boxes being added, or maybe they'll be rejoicing. Pretty much it will refill any of your turrets within radius, even manned ones. So if you've got ballista turrets and stuff like that, on top of the inventory you already got. So it's not like you've only got this ammo box from now on. You'll still be able to load up whatever you've got with all sorts of ammo, but this will give you that extra edge. And it may even really help if you've got a bunch of turrets going down. No longer will you maybe have to go along and fill up each one individually. You can simply just put this down quickly and it will reload all of them instantly as soon as you put all the ammo in one box. That's my idea behind it, hopefully. Hopefully it's not going to be too OP, or it's going to be abused. Obviously this is ARK, the masters of PvP. Abuse will certainly take advantage, I'm sure, but yeah, it seems like it could be a decent idea for PvE purposes, maybe for a little bit of hull defense, extinction, stuff like that with the orbital drops. That could be pretty good. We finally have something a bit more primitive instead of just all this tech stuff. We've got a canoe. Whoopee! You can actually put this in your inventory once you've placed it down. So unlike other stuff where you can't, you'll be able to put this on the go, take it into water. Obviously you can see it can hold other passengers as well. You'll be able to fish from this as well. So a good, nice little addition. I think a lot of PvEs might like this if you're having a bit of fun. Hopefully we'll do some sort of events with it as well. So yeah, the canoe is going to be like the basic version. You'll be getting around some of the lakes from obviously the space station, which we haven't even got into yet. But yeah, it's coming, guys. So I guess his kind of little upgrade is the HOVERSAIL. Now this is going to be quite a small, obviously, structure. You'll be able to zip around on any terrain. So it'll go on water, it'll go on land, but not super high. It is going to be a hover style. It's not going to be like miles and miles in the sky. You will be able to do tricks with it, just like a skateboard. And apparently if you do the right trick, you land it properly, you'll be able to get a speed boost out of it. It also does carry other players. You can see you've got a player laying down on the front of it. So you will be able to carry at least 2 people on this HOVERSAIL, and that's pretty cool as well. I can imagine going to war and battle with other players using some of these. That sounds pretty cool. It's not the fastest thing going, but it certainly will get you around, and if you learn how to use it with the tricks, yeah, it could be really, really useful. Next up, we got the minigun. Now this thing is going to be a beast. You'll be able to carry it around. You'll be able to use the tripod to put it down to get more stability. If you don't have that tripod down, well, you can forget any kind of accuracy. It will just be shooting all over the place. Maybe at last ditch effort, or if you're going up against a massive creature, then you may be able to do a lot of damage with it. Otherwise, you may still need to be able to place it. So a mobile turret in all but name. This sounds pretty cool. You are going to have to be careful though if it overheats. Obviously it's not just going to be rattling off bullets at 100 miles an hour forever. It will overheat, so maybe a bit like the drill and stuff. You're going to have to wait for it to cool down. Now, a big shout out to Classified in my Discord, Longtime Ratbag, and a bunch of others that all helped me out pin some of this info while I was sleeping and while with family yesterday. And some of the stuff I did miss was this, a tech pistol. This is going to have 3 big modes on it. You're going to be able to obviously do damage with it. You'll be able to heal with it, and you'll also be able to do stun damage. Now, I know some people are going to be worried it's going to be a situation where like it's the clubs, where it's just OP and pretty much everyone will be just going around zapping people and then killing them while they're sleeping. But the devs have said they're trying to balance it right. It's not going to be like that. Obviously, there are going to be cooldowns on it. There's going to be limitations to how often you can use it, as well as the healing mode too. They don't want them 2 modes to be too OP. I didn't say too much about the killing mode. I guess that's going to be just okay to go ahead and use. And I can't imagine it's going to be more powerful than some of the other tech guns we've already got. But certainly the versatility of being able to use all 3 of them is pretty good. And apparently if you use more than one, so if your teammates have all got tech pistols, then the damage or the healing ability or the stun ability becomes double. You'll be able to triple it up, quadruple it up, depending on how many beams are firing. So that's pretty good as well. I really like the idea if the stun can actually knock out dinosaurs maybe a little bit quicker rather than like using Trang arrows and stuff. That would be really interesting. Most likely going to be the OP weapon, I think, out of the next DLC, the Tech Bow. It shoots different types of ammo. It still uses elements when you find just your basic ammo, your element arrow, but you can switch up and mix it between explosive arrows. And depending what type of arrows you're using, and you can do this all on the fly, don't have to keep changing stuff in your inventory, you will be able to literally fire an explosive bolt. This explosive bolt, when pulled all the way back and you get a full power shot, will home in on its target. It's a heat-seeking arrow in kind of ways. As long as your reticle is red when you've let go of the arrow, it will go towards its target. So you don't have to worry if the target is moving, it will find its mark. There will be some limitations to distance. Obviously, if a player manages to get away from you or a creature gets far enough out of its radius, then it won't necessarily do it. And if you do shoot too early, it's not going to be nowhere near as effective. So yeah, there's kind of definitely going to be a sweet spot to using this. So I presume it will use all the other arrows. You'll be able to switch out between Trang arrows and fire arrows, and it will just take up more element depending on which arrow you're using. I do believe as well, if it doesn't have the actual element inside it, you can just use it as a normal bow and arrow with them abilities, and the element is really going to actually feed it being able to change quickly or feed the actual ammo itself from just the element arrows. So something that was causing a lot of confusion about having a tech suit at the very start of the DLC. You will have this brand new version called the Federation tech suit, and you'll start the game with it, and some sort of consternation about starting out with the tech pistol as well. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to be obviously in the story mode when you first start. You'll have this Federation tech suit, things will happen in the intro, and then you'll be left kind of again starting out maybe. You will have some elements that you'll be able to use from this tech suit, so apparently it is going to have a lot of the features from the old tech suits as well, but you won't be able to necessarily use all of them until you obviously get some element, and then you might be able to power it up. But yeah, it looks like it's also a pre-order bonus right now. There's a skin version, so if you've ordered the Genesis DLC already, you should be able to get this as a free skin once you find the Genesis notes that are scattered all around in the caves. I may do a video on that, I might not. If not, I will definitely recommend a good YouTuber who does art content to show you guys exactly where the sort of chronicles are. They're doing this again as well. They're going to be building stuff up, giving us different pieces. I think it's the boots at first, and then expect every single month now to get a brand new piece like leg, armor, chest, etc. Now this is the one I left a big comment saying that the game is turning into Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, we've already got the bow, we've got the skiff. Every game, every movie takes inspiration from others. I think some people think I'm being ultra mean when I say this. I'm just being a bit of a smart ass. Don't take it to heart, guys. We know that every idea isn't original anymore, but definitely ARK have heavily been inspired by so many things. They've publicly said they've been inspired by aliens. They've been inspired by all sorts of things like Caillou and Godzilla and stuff. So yeah, they're obviously taking a bit of license here with the electronic bionic dinosaurs. Now these Striders are going to come with different attachments, and each different version of that attachment will mean a different dinosaur. What do I mean by that? Well, it means that you're going to find a Strider with a harvesting attachment. You'll find a Strider with a defensive attachment. You'll find one with a more combat version. And there's going to be two different attachments. You'll be able to have an attachment on the front, and there'll be an attachment on the back. Now, I haven't come across anything that says you'll be able to swap them out. They've said that when you come across these, they will have their attachments on them already. So you'll get variations and mix up between which ones will have which. And it's up to you to just go and find the one that you want. I didn't mention anything about maybe killing it like we've done in the past with the Extinction DLC, where you could get the modules and stuff and make your mech suits however you wanted or whatever it was. So I kind of hope that is the case. I feel like if you're going to have something bionic like this, you should have the ability to customize it and do what you want with it once you get it, for sure. You know, just limit how many you can have. Maybe there's going to be a situation where you can only have one offensive sort of thing. But yeah, the idea is that you could even have things like a tech bed put to it, or a tech transmitter as well. So yeah, that's what comes from Classified. Again, big shout out to him for doing a rundown for some of this stuff, that you will be able to put a transmitter and a bed on it as well. And to tame it, you're going to have to hack into it. So I'm guessing it'll be some sort of process where you initiate the hack, and then you've got to stay in close proximity, and hopefully it doesn't get killed or attacked by anything else. Obviously with a harvesting tool, it's going to be demolishing trees. We've seen that from the trailer, showcasing that it's pretty powerful and OP at doing that, and it's going to be better than the mining drill. So it will not just be wood that it can gather all sorts of resources. So that was pretty much it for the items. Now let's get into the actual lore and the setting. So it is going to be one big giant map. No instances where you spawn just to go to one different area. Although there will be missions coming back the devs have said these missions will take place not on the map, so it will teleport you. I don't mind that. I had suggested they do that when I did my review of the Genesis 1 DLC, that the missions just got in the way too much. So now we've got this Genesis ship, and this is where everything's going to take place. We've got the Halo rings that I was again mucking around saying they just ripped off Halo. Yes, we know there's been Halo rings in every other thing like Ringworld and all sorts of stuff, but you get the idea. I mean, it's Interstellar. There's all sorts of inspirations for this, I'm sure. As long as it works, that's the only thing I give two monkeys about. That Xbox and PlayStation, it doesn't run or look like a potato. Something this far flung in the future absolutely should be working correctly, as we all should expect it to. And it does look pretty interesting. The biomes all being on these sort of areas. One big map. I love the idea of that. Obviously, it's got a destination. Rockwell was controlling it, is still controlling it, has infected it. Is it on its destination to Earth? Have we got to stop it before it reaches Earth? Is it just in orbit? We're not too sure. It's got the solar panels here as well, so it looks pretty epic. Obviously, some of this is in-game art as opposed to what we've seen in trailers. Some of it has probably all changed already. But yeah, this is kind of, I guess, what we saw in the sky on the Genesis 1 in certain missions, in certain biomes. You can see, I think it's the ocean biome, you can see it most clearly in the sky. Here's a bit more close-up of some of the biome concepts. So this is going to be like the starting area, I do believe, and there's going to be a sort of gardens area, exotic locations down below. So it's going to be like jungles and stuff. And up here you've got more savannas and grasslands alongside the tech. Now these big, huge sort of piers that you can see are massive. You'll be able to have the biggest creatures on them. So again, very much inspired by the Extinction City sort of architecture. Expect everything to be massive and huge. Your T-Rexes to be pretty small against some of these structures. And from what I can gather, this will be one of the starting areas that you're in, and then it's a case of maybe going down below, like in Aberration, to take a look at some of the more exotic creatures down there, and maybe go into some of the water areas that are down below. And then obviously you'll be able to go into the space a little bit at least, or there will be certain space creatures. We're going to take a look at the Astrocetus's little brother in a very few moments. Now, if that's still looking a bit too futuristic, then this next biome concept might be a bit more up your street, looking very much like Ragnarok or Valguero. Nice, lush green, lots of big hills and mountains. I'm guessing this is going to be just a little bit away of the city. It'd be so cool if that ring actually does something where it almost rotates, like you could literally see it rotating, and maybe it affects your time of day, and that's how we're seeing either night or daytime, because the ring is moving, not because we're going in certain directions in the sun. I don't know how that would work or how to change, but that's just an idea I thought. But yeah, you know, it's only concept art. I don't want to say too much in it, but yeah, it looks pretty good. Again, just very much like Ragnarok, Valguero, all them green, big open field places, obviously with a little bit more water as well, and some big mountains. So I mentioned earlier that there's going to be Rockwell's sort of gardens, and I think this is down below where it's going to be pretty twisted. It's going to be pretty dangerous. It looking again a little bit like a mix between sort of Aberration and maybe the Crystal Isles. I mean, they look like floating islands, but they're not. I don't think they are anyway. I think they're actually, that's water, and they're just areas that are creeping up. So again, looks really colourful. I'm not going to go too much with this concept art. I'm pretty sure it'll look very different when it's actually here, but very much expect there to be lots of corrupted, that kind of element from Aberration, all here interwoven and in this biome that I think is going to be kind of at the bottom of them city areas, or certain zones anyway. And then finally, deeper inside Rockwell's bumhole, basically, inside his guts, inside his innards. Gears of War 2 fans, represent, put your hand up if you remember chainsawing through arteries and getting covered in blood as you try to escape a giant worm. Well, I kind of get that vibe from this as well. Maybe we're going to have to go and do something inside, or maybe it's just going to be a massive sort of ways tendrils have gone throughout everywhere and it's infected everything. But on the Twitter feed that the official account put up, it did list us as being parasites. So yeah, it does look like we're going to be properly inside Rockwell himself. Ugh. Obviously, the trailer's got the breakdown at the end with the Noglin pretty much hiding behind one of the eyeballs from this disgusting zone. Blubs. So I guess that does lead us on to the Noglin itself. It is pretty much a small, cute, lovable creature, but for whatever reasons, it then decides to get massive and eat your face. You can see that's what's going to happen, very much like the Ferox, where it's going to have two forms, or situations where it's going to change, transform, and pretty much eat you. Scary enough, it'll actually be using its mind powers, where it'll be able to attach to dinosaurs or yourself, and it can obviously be a shoulder pet. It will be just sitting on your shoulder, but yeah, it can be a mind control creature. I don't know how that's actually going to work. Maybe it'll just be a case of being in radius. You might be able to make creatures stand still so that it can come and attack you or something like that. I'm expecting it to be pretty basic. I'm not expecting the Noglin to be able to control other dinosaurs, but you never know. That could be a situation. Imagine being able to control a T-Rex for 30 seconds to get it off of your back or from chomping on you. That could be pretty interesting. Next on to the creature that Loaded Crisis Clickbait said was going to be a dragon from Lord of the Rings. Oh my god. Anyway, ShadowMane is going to be a bit OP. Maybe not dragon level, but certainly the female version is going to be able to go invisible. The male version will have a stronger roar and it will make any creatures around it, their abilities enhanced. Both creatures will be able to do a dash attack that can go against multiple enemies in a line or dashing around. So I'm guessing a little bit like a MANEQUIN, sort of mix between that and a Rock Drake with its abilities there, or you can use it just to get away as well and escape. So yeah, it looks pretty good. No word yet whether or not it'll be able to climb rocks like a Rock Drake and stuff, or under hang, but yeah, the female version is going to be OP for stealth and the male version will be definitely good for having allies with your other creatures. Just a little side note on some of the more creatures before we go into some of the other stuff. But this one, it's probably going to be just a little firefly bug and not an actual proper creature. But you never know. The way it kind of dashed across the screen, across the ShadowMane, it just made me think that maybe this could be a variation of a light bug. But I doubt it. I think it's just going to be a tiny fly that we won't have interactions with. This next one I've slowed it down as much as possible to show you like an octopus style creature. It's obviously going to have an eyeball inside it. Is it going to be as ferocious as we think? Have they played around with the camera angles here? Because the reveal shows it much larger than a player, but is it in fact actually something pretty small? I'm not too sure. The eyeballs, when in correlation to the smaller creature, the Noglin, well, they're absolutely huge. Like, it really does look like it's just part of the landscape and he's just appearing rather than anything actually moving from these. But then again, I don't know, you've got the little claws there. It looks massive. So is that the same thing? Do these eyeballs literally just pop out of their sockets and fly around, or is it just another creature entirely? I think the colours are all too much matching. Obviously, Helena is very red there, so I'm guessing it is some sort of dangerous creature. You can see it's got tentacles that look more like claws or pincers alongside, obviously, its big flapping eyelids. I'm guessing it's going to do some beam of energy or disorientation rather than an actual proper attack like that or something. Then we've got more tentacles of Rockwell. Obviously we know he's got plenty of tentacles, so yeah, this could all be just him. Like, he's got loads of eyeballs and they're all inside his gut or his bumhole and we're going to be travelling through. Nice, Wildcard, nice. There's never a moment that I look at creatures that Wildcard have done and gone, nah, they're rubbish, they're bad. They're always great, they're always fantastic, they've always now got a good range of abilities. I think when Aberration first came out, I was sceptical of them being kind of reskins and stuff, and some of the creatures ended up feeling just a bit meh. But ever since then, they've definitely added just unique stuff going on. Maybe not as many creatures as I've always wanted in the subsequent DLCs, and I'm really hoping that they said they haven't showed everything. There's loads to show in the future. We've obviously got a good 4 months away before the game, and it'll probably be the end of March, so maybe even 5 months before we actually see it. So I'm hoping there's going to be even more creatures added. I really want to see this DLC go out of a bang. Give us 20 brand new creatures. Anyway, finishing off with the last few, the ASTRODELPHIS, which is going to be smaller than the ASTROCETUS. It will have some abilities, but expect it to be very much smaller alongside the sort of dolphin size. Apparently its saddle's going to have a boost mode, a bit like the Tropicanus, and when you hit with the gun, it will have bombs that can roll and flip and dodge, and basically finding it and taming it is going to be really super difficult though. ASTROCETUS was a cool creature, it was. I mean, I don't know about uses and practical, it was buggy as fuck for ages on Xbox and PlayStation, and in general teleporting all over the place and just meshing into people's bases. Let's hope it's not the same sort of deal with this one. And I guess finally, before wrapping up with my thoughts about the DLC in general and the trailer, the variants for biome specific ones. Obviously we've got the Equius here. I'm guessing it's going to have some sort of aberrant colourings on it, although I'm sure we had that anyway. I guess it might be a bit different, a bit more unique, a little bit more exotic, maybe not as dark or just glow in the dark, who knows. The Reaper here is what happens when you let your kids go mad colouring whatever they want on your favourite picture. Yeah, pretty much just like a mess of purple, yellow and pink. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. I can't wait to see why the reasoning is for this. What makes these have these specific colours? Are they going to be like some of the Genesis creatures where they were a little bit more tougher or had a little bit more health, or in some cases actually less? I'm pretty sure some of Genesis dinosaurs did more damage but had less health. Is that going to be the same situation with these variants? And last one with the Dilo. So yeah, it's cool. It looks nice. They're very colourful. People love this kind of stuff. And now if you can have your incubator going without having to go through breeding 20 million different creatures all the way to term, it's even better for performance. And that's always the big thing for me is with ARK. Performance, how updates are rolling out, and what kind of communication we get for the game. ARK have always got fantastic ideas. They've always got loads of stuff, even if they do borrow heavily from other games and other popular culture. The way they iterate on it and the way they present the biomes and stuff, it's always great. It's fantastic looking. Just as always, the big problem with me is that performance. Is how is this going to run on an OG Xbox or PlayStation 4? Is it going to be just a case of the devs once again concentrating on the looks of it and not really bothering testing their shit out? I won't go too deep on a bit of a whinge or a moan with the end of this video. I will say every time there's a DLC, I get hyped, I get excited normally. But this one, I just haven't. I've just not been invested. I have to be honest with you guys. I think it's been too many problems with the last DLC, the Genesis. It's only just getting corrected for Xbox and PlayStation users now. And the devs just don't learn. They just don't do normal things that make sense, like operate test servers, like get people involved in more closed testing on console. And it's the console fans that I feel sorry for. Like, how is this going to run on an OG Xbox or PlayStation? Is it going to be okay? Is the performance going to be there? They've tried, they've said they're implementing new stuff, and I really hope it works. But after 5 years of the same old story where even an update recently for an event couldn't come out on time, it just shows how poor WILDCARD are at managing their game. As we start to see more stuff, I'm hoping I'll get a bit more excited and a bit more hyped. But you know what would really get me excited? Seeing a Primitive Plus update that actually gave some proper love to the game mode. Seeing maybe a Nintendo Switch update, that would be fantastic. It's probably cost them a good few $100,000 to get David Tennant, the voice of Rockwell. He's Doctor Who, he's been in loads of stuff in Britain and UK. He's been in loads of Amazon Prime stuff like Terry Pratchett, Gods and Demons. He was the bad guy in Jessica Jones. He's a big, fairly big actor, so it's cost hundreds of thousands to get him on board. I would have rather have that been spent on the Switch. I don't want to be grumpy, but ARK has just got so many issues and problems, and that's why I just refuse to get overhyped or excited anymore, because these DLCs, these updates always break, they always launch late, and there's always problems. Prove me wrong, WILDCARD. Tell me to shut my mouth, make a DLC that actually works on day one with only a few little hiccups here and there. Agree, disagree? Let me know what you like about the DLC reveal. I'll see you ratbags later.